Warning, some viewers may find this content disturbing, viewer discretion is advised. What was the creepiest/scariest thing that ever happened while you were alone? I spoke to the ghost of my great-grandmother on the telephone. I didn't recognize her voice because she had died over 60 years before I was born, but a very elderly-sounding lady called and calmly told me to tell Essie it is time to come home now. I kept telling her she had the wrong number, but she was adamant that I pass along the message. 2 hours later, my grandmother's assisted living home called and told us that my grandmother, Esther, had passed away in her sleep. Her mother had died when she was 16, and Essie was my grandmother's childhood nickname. This was 25 years ago, and thinking about it still makes the hair on my neck stand on end. This didn't happen to me, but my sister. She was home alone and I was out at the mall with a friend. I called her to ask what t-shirt she wanted from the store I was at, and she told me she was scared that there was ghost in the house. I asked what happened. She had put a hot pocket in the microwave and gone into her room to change. While she was changing, she heard the microwave go off, signaling that her hot pocket was done. We have a small house, the kitchen and living room are open and connected, and her room opens to the living room. She comes out of her room to grab the hot pocket, but instead of it being in the microwave, it was out on the living room coffee table, all warmed up. If that happened to me while I was alone, I would have been out of there so fast. I was camping with friends. It was early in the season and we were the only ones in that section of the park. One morning I stayed in my sleeping bag in the tent while everyone else went to the facilities, which were a bit of a walk away. I dozed off again. I was awoken by someone grabbing my foot through the tent. I was groggy and assumed it was a friend playing a joke and kicked and said "fuck off." My foot was grabbed again and pulled, and I kicked again pretty hard, not afraid to kick my friend who was now pissing me off. He stopped and I dozed off again. I woke up again probably less than half an hour later and heard my friends in the distance, returning. When they got back I asked them who was the one trying to wake me up. They had no idea what I was talking about, honestly. I told them about something grabbing my foot through the tent and they thought I was trying to tell a story to scare them. I still have no idea what it was. It wasn't even dark out at the time. When I was 10, my parents and I lived across the street from my grandmother. It was around 8:30 or 9 p.m. It had just been dark for 15 or 20 minutes. I told my mom I was running across the street to my grandmother's house. Instead of going across the street, I walked over to a convenience store about 6 blocks away. On my way back, while devouring a Three Musketeers bar, I was at an intersection. A car a block away, not a cop, was going through the intersection and he slammed on his brakes and squealed in reverse and whips his car around and squealed towards me. At this point it is pitch black and no one is out and I take off running. I cut between a house and hopped a fence and started down an alley. I see his headlights getting brighter and slow down and he turns into the alley. I dive down and hide behind 2 trash cans while this fucker creeps by at 2 miles an hour. He passes and pulls out of the alley and I hear his tires squealing and I am shaking and paralyzed with fear. After about 20 or 30 seconds I get my shit together and stand up, make it about 20 feet, and I see his headlights coming into the alley again. This time I was behind someone's detached garage. Looking around the corner of the garage I see the guy, and although I couldn't make out his face I could see his head on a swivel breaking his neck looking for me. He pulled back out of the alley and I hopped or went through every person's backyard for 3 blocks till I made it home. The part that sucks as an adult and knowing how dangerous that situation is, I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to get busted for lying. I feel really bad now. Someone should have been notified. The authorities should have definitely been looking for that guy. My cousin and I went to Dallas together, but he had to stay an extra day for work, so I came back to his house on my own. He lives on top of a hill in a big old house and it was a bit creepy. I was just lounging around when I hear what sounded like some heavy footsteps running a few steps and suddenly stopping. Holy crap. I have a major freak out. Went to check the doors to make sure they were locked. Front door, locked. Side door, locked. Back door. Oh my God. Not only unlocked but slightly open. I decided to go through the house and found nothing. Closets, under beds, everywhere. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Footsteps continued every once in a while. I was pretty sure I was going to die that night. Spoiler alert, I didn't. When I was around 11 or so, my siblings and I were all playing hide and seek in my house. Now I know under the bed is the first place you always look, but for whatever reason I decided to hide under my little sister's bed in her dark room. So I get down on the floor and squeeze under and wait for the seeker to come looking for me, and as I'm laying there waiting I hear a little girl giggle next to me. I could clearly see I was the only one under the bed and I was the only one in the room, and I shot out from under the bed and told everyone what happened, and that was the end of the game. When I was little, probably 6 or 7, I was in a room in my house on the ground floor playing on the treadmill. After a few minuets I glanced up towards the window and I saw someone duck away, someone very clearly spying on me. Ran to my parents and turned out that my dad's work was sending people to spy on him to see if he really was injured or was faking it. Scary times. Heard my name when I was alone in my room one time. Heard it clear as day. I was a utility locator. I used to work on a team with my dad. To find a gas service from the gas main to the house, you must connect the equipment at the gas meter. Many older homes have the gas meter in the basement. Sometimes, I would be the one that would connect the equipment while my dad found the gas service. In this particular day, we get to a house that had the meter in the basement. I go up, knock on the door, the homeowner points me in the direction of the stairs to the basement. I go down and I see the gas meter in the corner with 2 walls built around it, making it like a closet with no door. Behind the gas meter is the old crawl space halfway up the cinder block wall. No lights in the crawl space. As I step into the closet area, I hear what I can only describe as a demonic growl come from the crawl space. I step out, and call my dad. Not wanting to sound spooked, I just say I need a flashlight. He hung up. I stood outside of the doorway and just reached in to hook up the equipment. My dad comes down the stairs with the flashlight, and as he steps through the door to see if I got it in the dark, that same demonic growl comes from the crawl space. He about knocked me over trying to get back. He hands me the flashlight and goes back outside. I just stood there pointing the flashlight into the crawl space with a feeling something was watching me. He calls and says he's done. I grabbed the equipment as quickly as possible and got the fuck out. Don't know what it was, but it wasn't a dog or raccoon or anything I've ever heard before or since. 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I was in bed petting my very bossy cat, who had pushed my bedroom open a few minutes prior, when I saw my dad. The entry to the kitchen is just that, an entrance. There is no door. I saw him in his oversized black shorts and miscellaneous old t-shirt cross the kitchen entryway. First I thought, why the fuck he is not at work, then I realized that he wasn't wearing his glasses. Which led me to think he must be sick. So I get up despite my dickhead cat's nasty face and walk into the kitchen to ask him if he is feeling okay. No one was there. No one was home, all the doors were still locked. I wasn't afraid, but turning that corner and expecting to see a person and seeing nothing but a bright empty room was very creepy. My grandma told me that after her husband died, if she left the bedroom door open when she slept, she had dreams that he was coming into her bedroom, but when she shut the door the dreams went away. Shortly before she died she told me now he comes in even when the door is shut. Once I was the only one at work getting ready to shut it down for the night. I work in a really old warehouse that has been around for at least 50 years. As I was walking past a room, a garbage can flew out the door and hit the wall with force about a foot in front of me. Checked out the room and nothing. I still can't explain it to this day. When I was younger, about 7, I was home alone and I heard the door open. My parents had gone out to celebrate a birthday with a few friends and I wasn't allowed to go. My older sisters were at a sleepover. I assumed it was my parents getting home and I ran to the door, but nobody was in the house after a thorough search. I then heard the back door to the house open and a man yell, "Hurry, get the hell out." I really didn't understand what was going on at the moment, so I just closed the doors and locked them. After my parents got home, my mom and dad accused me of taking their money they had stashed away and asking me what I did with a few different things. After I told them what happened, they didn't believe me until they saw that the hallway downstairs leading to our back door had muddy boot prints. They called the cops and freaked out. I live in a small house next to my father's home, which is in the middle of the woods, Norway. Even though I am 18 years old, it can be quite scary being completely alone sometimes, especially after dark. This incident happened some time ago, about 1 year or so. It was well over midnight and I was just about to go to sleep, eyelids closed. I had been lying in bed for a while. Unfortunately there was no sleep to come, because I suddenly heard an ominous scream outside. It was extremely loud, and almost sounded like it was directly over my house. It was indescribably scary. The scream was something straight out of a horror movie, like a blend between an animal and a human in pain. The freakiest part was that I could hear the sound moving through the air above me, from one point to another. Believe me, it was fast as lightning, and gone before I knew it. The suddenness scared me shitless. It was so unexpected. I stayed up all night with the lights on. The day after the incident I spoke to my father about it. It turned out that he had heard it too. He even rushed to the window to see what was going on outside. None of us have a clue of what the hell that scream was about. But there was some kind of relief knowing that I wasn't the only one experiencing it. We even joked about it being a witch flying through the air. But all jokes and speculations aside, I hope I never hear something like that ever again. I still have trouble sleeping sometimes. Buried by now, but here it is. Had a veteran female Marine in my anatomy class that was having problems with what she assumed was a stalker. She had a guy from a town about 40 minutes away come set up her computer for her and debug it. The guy is bragging about how he's ex-military intelligence, blah blah. She thinks nothing of it. He gets her computer set up, all is fine. Mind you, she's a fairly attractive single woman and a mother of 4. Her house is huge and has a pretty good alarm system installed, including a motion sensor camera. The alarm system also gives her updated lists of which doors have been opened and the times. She's at home alone one morning getting ready for class and hears what she thinks is a door slamming. She has several firearms, so she loaded one and checked the house. Nothing. She leaves, sets the alarm, and doesn't think anything of it, just thought she's going nuts from stress. Leaves the house and gets a notification on her phone that after she left, the alarm was deactivated within the grace period of 60 seconds or so, reset, and that the front door was opened and closed. She realized she wasn't hearing things and called the police and the alarm company. They came, searched the house, and came up with nothing. Fast forward a week later, the alarm is still acting up, cops have been called a second time, and her neighbor has helped her search the house. She asks me while in class to come home with her and search her house with a gun. I agree. On the way there, the alarm is being weird. We get to the house. Load 2 guns. Start downstairs and work our way up. We get upstairs and I ask if she's ever checked the attic. She says no. My adrenaline is pumping as we open the crawlspace door. I climb up first, not knowing what or who I'll find. We look around with guns and flashlights pointed around. We see footprints in the soft billowy insulation leading to a far corner with a blind spot. We walked over to check and no one was there. We climb down from the attic and shut the door. She recognizes that sound as the sound she heard the first morning when home alone. We go downstairs to chill out and wait for her kids to get home. I then notice the doggy door on her back door. I ask her if it locks and she says yes. I inspect it to find the lock can be unlocked easily by sliding a key across the latch. The person has been entering and exiting through the doggy door. We left immediately to go buy a new door and come back to install it. After leaving, she got an update that the doors from the garage, into the house, and out the back door had been triggered in the grace period. They had been hiding in the garage while we were in the house. Installed the new door, problems ceased. Scary shit. We lived rural, so no street lights, home alone, dark outside, power goes off. No worries, I'm not too bad in the dark. However, as soon as the lights went out, the electric toothbrush starts going full noise. It was on charge. Don't know why it happened, but it took me a while to realize what it was. I was sure I was going to be chopped into little pieces. No real danger. This was my story from a similar thread months ago, but it still pertains. It was 2 a.m. and I was bored. So I went out to this park a bit out of town to go biking. It for the most part is surrounded by trees at all ends, with a running/biking track that goes around the park. The park was lined with street lights though, so you could vaguely see. I've been going there for a few times that week around this time because it unwinded me and felt good at that outside. But this time when I was making my rounds, I see 4 fucking 6-year-old looking figures come out of the forest. It was 4 to 7 of them, I don't remember. But these little things didn't have a parent with them at all and seemingly stayed silhouetted. I was kind of biking in their general direction when they started fucking coming towards me. Thankfully I was around 200 feet away from them, but I could make out them and the spooky little shits were coming. I don't think I biked faster my entire life. I literally became Lance Armstrong with an extra testicle for a good 3 minutes, charging it home. It was unexplainable. I've been alone and haven't seen a single person all the times I went. I haven't gone since, needless to say. Heard my name whispered to me from the top of the dark staircase. This house was located on an old Indian boarding school campus, next to a cemetery. The ancient Indian burial ground is very true. Different house. I was drifting off to sleep and had both dogs in the room with me, a pit bull and husky. Suddenly the pit bull starts growling like I've never heard him before. He's facing the closet, so I know he wasn't growling at the husky. I call his name and he lays by me, still tense, but I pet him till he calms down. Later I hear from my parents that they've seen an older woman in the house. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily videos, and join the spooky squad.